from Guy Genius, who said, I really think for the long-term health of the game, it needs to be inspired by RuneScape's approach to player power and ESO's modular expansions. Endless stat bumps aren't sustainable. That's something that even if you look at a game like Guild Wars 2, like a new expansion comes out, there isn't a new level cap. And then that's weird, because how do you give people a continual progression? I'm not really sure what it is in... I know in Guild Wars, like, it's just new masteries, new stuff to do. In ESO, I know that quite a lot of that's like collecting different gear sets, which then I think you can craft at like basically a higher item level or something whenever you're maxed out in your character. I don't remember fully though. It was like I watched a bunch of guide videos like months and months and months ago to learn more about that game. Something like that for Warcraft, I think, would be interesting and could work. Right now you have a major faction for each of the zones and plenty of stuff to do to go up with those factions. There's nothing stopping them from just doing like 4 Suramars and that's the expansion. Yeah. And, you don't get a massive boost to your level or whatever. But I think the problem or the thing that they'd be worried about is like, all right, but then you don't get to have power progression. You only have horizontal power progression and new builds to play with. And then maybe they end up in a situation where as they add more builds, they do naturally make builds that feel better or are more powerful. Yeah. So it's the sort of thing where removing leveling, doing those more modular expansions, it would be hard to make that make sense with how World of Warcraft is played by the large captive audience that it has. So I think while that could make sense for starting off with a new game, maybe for World of Warcraft it would be hard because it would be such a monumental change from where they are.
I think that is fundamentally the case of that would be too much change. Even though it's such a good idea. Yeah. It's such a good idea. Because it's leveling's pointless. But then there's and this is the weird part, right, where that is such a thrust for people to get through content. And it's this weird sense of you have 4 Suramars. Well, this is an interesting question. I'm sure they have the data on this. How many people finished the Legion leveling zones versus finished Suramar story quest? And obviously Suramar was like differently structured and stuff, and there's different progression to it over a lot of time. But like, if you went, here's 4 Suramars, and people logged in were max level, they'll be like, which bar do I make go up?
Help, I'm confused.
I don't know which bar do I make go up. And then they're like, there's 4 separate bars for each zone. I'm confused. I don't like this. And I'm like, that is clearly me being, exaggerating. But I think there is a sort of fundamental truth to it, which is people make bar go up. You look at Overwatch, people made bar go up. A lot of the bar go up was loot box at the end of the bar. Oh, baby, let's go. But it was that fundamental, this bar go up, I do happy. I make the bar go up until the bar doesn't go up anymore. I get an achievement, and then the game says, you can play the end game now. So it's like that, and that is all very tied to the concept that I think people became nicely aware of, talking about Diablo Immortal, which was you don't just throw people into endgame. You don't throw people into the final loop. You give people time to effectively trap themselves and get used to your game and acclimatize themselves. It's almost like, boiling a lobster in a pot. You don't put them into the hot water, you put them into the cold water and turn it up slightly. And the equivalent of turning up the water to be warmer is just getting playtime in there. And then the reverse for like cold cryotherapy and stuff, it's like you turn it down gradually, otherwise the difference is too sharp. And that's the kind of the whole thing of after Shadowlands and people play the 12-20 hours level to go, that was a fun enough experience, and now I've invested my time, I've got my extra levels. I might as well play the end game now, which is going to be a small portion of people versus everyone who knows what the crack is. But there will be just that kind of that psychological addition of you've leveled up, you've done the job, you can now, your reward is end game for doing the work. So people go, yeah, fuck yeah, finally got it, let's go. Let's hop into heroic dungeons, and that's Mythic Zeros and then raid and stuff like that. Or if the discussion we're talking about recently is as the World of Warcraft community and a wider level is you do your Mythic Zeros and then you wait until January for raid, because raiding over Christmas would be bad for Echo and Liquid. But yeah, it's weird. I'd love to see them try it, but I don't think it'll work. I don't think it'll work, and it's too risky. Yeah,
I think that's basically where it is. But the more like modular evergreen content that they could put in, even with the current structure existing, the better.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Deaths of Chromie, stuff like that, Mage Tower, right? The more they do that, the merrier. So, there's that.